Just wanted to talk a bit about your your mortgage guideline, which came out, I think, in June or July of last year. And then in September, OSFI put out a very direct note saying B20 guidelines had to be enforced. It seems to me that there's a little bit of daylight between the recommendations that FCAC is making or expectations that FCAC has on organizations than what OSFI is putting on organizations. Is that a fair interpretation?
So no, there is no contradiction or daylight, and I believe we've sent a letter to that effect where we try to explain that. The purposes and the targets are different. Our mortgage guideline is intended to address temporary measures to allow those consumers who are at risk of default to make some adjustments or examine their options in order to either return to compliance or not.
Right. But you don't define temporary, correct?
We don't specifically define temporary, but it is quite clear in the guideline, the expectation. The OSFI guideline, which they can explain better than I can, of course, is around new contracts or permanent changes.
Okay. Are you following or receiving data back from the institutions that you regulate about how they're dealing with requests for relief?
Yes. So one of the aspects of the guideline is there's a reporting requirement.
Is it possible that you share some of that reporting with this committee?
Yes, so it's still early days. Frank has some high-level
Not interested in, to be fair, I don't have a lot of time here. I'm not interested in getting into it right now, but I'm interested in the output.
Yeah.
So when you're presenting it to the government,
yeah.
When it's ready, we would appreciate it being tabled with this committee.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We will also be publishing it publicly.
Okay,
probably not till next summer, though, publicly.
Thank you very much. Who is paying for the relief that's being provided to consumers?
If the relief would be in the form of banks foregoing something they might otherwise get, either in a fee or an interest payment or something like that. So it would be the banks.
I submit that it's not the banks, that the other consumers are paying for the relief. And I think I would recommend that we examine what's been happening at banks for other products and other consumers. For example, checking accounts that still provide 0% in some cases or 0.5% in interest, NSF charges that have gone up, overdraft charges that have gone up. I submit the banks are not doing this out of the goodness of their heart, that other customers are subsidizing this relief. In fact, because OSFI is not allowing uninsured mortgage holders to shop a mortgage at a renewal, that's also where some of this margin is being made up. Now, OSFI doesn't allow uninsured mortgages to shop at renewal, but as part of the mortgage charter, if you're insured, you're allowed to shop at renewal and not have to do the stress test. I don't understand how that is a definite contradiction, and I don't know if you have any comments on that contradiction. OSFI says if you're uninsured, you have to do the stress test at renewal. FCAC and the government says if you're insured, you don't have to do. You can shop and not do the stress test. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yeah. So there's quite a lot in there. So I accept your concern around pricing and whether pricing in one area is cross-subsidizing another area. I think that's why pricing is a challenging issue. There are provisions to protect consumers from unfair treatment, and we put specifically in the mortgage guideline a provision that addresses that fact, that banks are prohibited from taking advantage.
Okay. But it still leaves a fair bit of daylight. If I have an insured mortgage, which by definition is more likely to default than an uninsured mortgage, because the uninsured mortgage is greater than 20% down, why is it that the government is allowing the insured mortgage holder to shop without doing the stress test, but OSFI is forcing a stress test to be done for the uninsured? Like, how is that kind of a fair application of relief, if you will?
Yeah, so the relief measures to speak to whether it is insured or uninsured. So there's no difference in the guideline between the relief measures that are expected and the behavior expected towards insured or uninsured.
Thank you very much. That someone should tell OSFI that they should allow the uninsured the same kind of flexibility.